public childcare and so on. The Nordic countries, on the other hand, they have a high emphasis on dual earner support policies, which is individual taxation of married couples, public childcare, public care of the elderly, very important, as Gertrude mentioned, and parental allowances that are based on previous income and not just flat rate. And those policies are not very market-oriented, and because taxes on income are relatively high, and so are social transfers. So how are the norms in these different types of countries? Different types of family policies not only reflect different values and norms in respective society, but they also form values and attitudes and norms. And in this figure, we see the share of persons aged 20 to 54 who disagree with the statement that children will suffer if the mother is employed outside the home. I mean, they say that the children will not be treated badly if the mother works outside the home. And as you see, the share of women who disagree with this statement, who thinks it's okay for the mother to work outside the home, is the largest in the Nordic countries, is between 60 and a little more than 70%. But the share of women disagreeing in the Nordic countries is between 60 and 70%. And also the share of men is quite high, between 50 and 60%. And there is not much variation between the countries. If you go to the next section, in the countries where family policies are more of the traditional family support, you see that more women than men disagree with the statement, but generally the share of women disagreeing is lower than in the Nordic countries, and this is more pronounced among the men. See here, much lower among the men. Ireland is a very interesting example here, where the shares of women and men disagreeing are almost like in Finland, while the answers from Austria reflect very traditional values. And the variation in answers from the third section, the more market-oriented countries, is also quite large, but not as large as is in the traditional family policy countries. Japan is a quite interesting country here, since this is the only country where the share of women disagreeing with the statement is as low as for the men. You see, in Japan there is not much difference between the women and the men. Switzerland is the country where the answers reflect traditional values, but the shares of women and the men disagreeing are still higher than in Austria. So Austria seems to be a very, very traditional country. How is life for parents in these countries? In this figure, we see the share of persons in the same ages, and they have children younger than 6 years in the household. And they are asked do you often think that life at home is stressful? Life at home, not life at work. Clearly more mothers than fathers with small children think that life at home is stressful, with a notable exception of the Netherlands. I find that very interesting. Maybe it's that extremely many women work part-time in the Netherlands, and you have many women who are housewives. I'm really not sure. But it's very interesting to see that the mother in dual earner countries like the Nordic countries, they are not more stressed than mothers in traditional family support countries and in market-oriented countries. I find that very, very interesting. The most stressful country when it comes to at-home stress level is found in Germany. That is traditional family country, with the United States, a market-oriented country, as a close runner-up. And the largest difference between mothers and fathers concerning at-home stress levels is found in Switzerland, a country with a market-oriented family policy. So it seems that German women and American women, they carry a heavy load. What about stress at work? This figure, we see the share of persons who have children younger than 6 years in the household and who often report difficulties to concentrate on paid work duties due to family responsibility. And it's very important to note that in order to be able to answer this question, you have to have a paid work, right? So many women in Germany, Netherlands, and Austria, they can't answer this question because they don't have any jobs to be stressed about. And as you can see, the Nordic countries, where most mothers of small children have paid work, they are quite alike here. Between 7 and 10% of the mothers report such difficulties. And the fathers, the share is a bit lower, is around 3 to 7%. And in Denmark, it's quite the same. 3 countries that are all market-oriented stand out as being especially stressful at work for mothers with small children. And these are United States, United Kingdom, and Australia. And you could also note that the stress levels at work is also relatively higher in traditional family country, Germany. But note that these are women who do also have a paid job. So what are the main conclusions so far? In most countries, more women than men, they disagree with the statement that children will suffer if the mother is employed outside the home. And the share of women disagreeing is less than or around 50% in all countries except the Nordic and Ireland. Ireland is a very interesting country here. I would be really interested to go deeper into what's happening in Ireland. The data are from 2002. So, can we safely conclude that women still feel torn between home and work? No, not really. The degree of self-reported stress at home and at work for households with small children is not higher in dual-earner model economies like the Nordic countries. Double roles do not imply double stress. Certain countries stand out as being very stressful for women. The stress at home is very high in Germany, which is a traditional family policy country, and in the United States, which is a market-oriented country. And it's very stressful for women at work due to family responsibilities in United States, United Kingdom, Australia, and to some extent in Germany. So it seems that there is kind of a winning concept here, the dual earner support model. Less stress at home and less stress at work. Now I'm going to go a bit deeper into the subject of paid parental leave. I wrote an expert report to the Commission on Parental Leave, the Government Commission on Parental Leave in 2005. And the conclusions, I'll present the conclusions very briefly here. I called my report, The Effects of Paid Parental Leave on Employment and Wages. Are they different for women than for men? And the answer is yes. Very easy. A paid parental leave, even if it is very short, like 3-4 months, has a positive effect on women's employment ratio. So you only need paid parental leave for 3-4 months to see an increase in women's employment ratio. A 9-month-long parental leave or more is estimated to increase women's employment population ratio with 4%, which is quite large. But there is a trick here, there is a catch, there is something bad here. Long paid parental leaves at least 9 months, they are estimated to have a negative effect on women's wages relative to men, a reduction of around 2-3%. So there seems to be disadvantages with long parental leaves used only by women. How come? What are the possible reasons for this relative wage reduction? Well, I'm an economist, so I start with supply and demand. We have increased female labor supply, and we all know that increased supply tend to press down the wages. We also have